Discover the insane power of Psalm 23 that will transform your life at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3, and a chilling silence swept through the empty streets. In the shadowed corners of the old town, whispers floated, hinting at secrets clinging like cobwebs to the walls of long-abandoned houses. In the stillness, a figure stood, clenching a weathered Bible. This wasn't just any night. It felt electric, as if the air itself shimmered with possibility. What could happen at this hour? With an ancient text in hand, it seemed someone was ready to find out. Sarah had heard the stories, the hushed conversations about the miraculous power of Psalm 23. People had claimed that if read at precisely 3 in the morning, something indescribable would shift, something tangible would stir in the very essence of reality. Cautionary tales followed. People spoke of dreams that morphed into nightmares, of shadows flickering just beyond sight, and voices that implored but were never seen. These weren't just tales, they were warnings. Every anecdote layered an air of danger, thick enough to cut. As Sarah opened the Bible, the aged pages whispered secrets, a sound almost like a groan. It sent shivers down her spine. Was it just the wind? Or was something alive within those lines? The words melted into her thoughts, curling around like smoke, inviting yet eerie. A tightness gripped her chest. She had to know the truth. Her hands trembled as she traced the familiar lines, a mix of hope and dread brewing inside her. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes jolted her from her reverie. A surge of panic froze her. Was someone watching? The hairs on her neck stood up, every sense heightened. She turned slightly, catching a glimpse of movement. For a moment, everything was hushed. Shadows shifted closer, encircling her, taunting her. But was it just her imagination? Or was this mystical night more than it seemed? The atmosphere thrummed with energy, a pulse driving her deeper into mystery. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a sudden flash, the streetlight flickered, casting jittery light through the trees. Sarah's heart raced, pounding in her ears. She felt drawn, pulled by something unseen. What would the psalm reveal tonight? Would it bring solace or unleash the shadows? Just then, the last line echoing through her mind made her breath hitch. What if she wasn't alone in this? As the weight of the moment sank in, she realized she was standing at the edge of something profound and terrifying. What awaited her in the dark? The silence shattered like glass as Sarah's breath hitched, her eyes widening in terror. The rustle had turned into something else, an insistent shuffling that came closer, layer by layer. Time stopped. She stood frozen, a moth in the dim glow of that flickering streetlight, her fingers lingering on the pages that carried centuries of hope and dread. Before she could rationalize her fears, a figure emerged from the tree-ling. It was hunched yet oddly familiar, swathed in shadows that danced as if alive. Sarah squinted, heart racing, pulse thrumming in her ears, each beat ricocheting in the stillness. The figure halted under the sputtering light, its features obscured, but the gleam of recognition sparked, chilling her to the core. Sarah, a voice rasped, low and hauntingly familiar. Her heart plummeted. It couldn't be. She took a step back, instinct screaming at her to flee. But her feet refused to move. The voice called again, drawing her unwillingly in. I've come to show you what the psalm can really do. Stay back, she shouted, her own voice sounding fragile against the oppressive darkness. But the figure didn't budge. Instead, a flash of pale skin emerged, followed by a look that branded memories deep in her mind. It was someone she thought she'd lost forever, a friend. Someone drowned in shadows of the past, lost to tragedy. Sarah's heart twisted as the long-buried pain resurfaced, clawing at her throat, tight and suffocating. Is it really you? She asked, disbelief mingling with hope. Yes, and no, the figure replied, the edges of their mouth curving into a sorrowful smile that sent fresh waves of remorse through her. It's complicated now. You unleashed something by summoning the psalm. Now it's time to face the consequences. The words hung in the air like smoke, heavy and foreboding. What consequences? The stories hadn't said anything about this. They spoke of miracles, of peace, of divine guidance. But never of this twisted reappearance, this echo from her past that felt more like a curse than a blessing. The shadows pulsated around them, almost alive, thickening the air, seeping into her skin. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. What consequences? They're coming for you, the figure said, a tremor running through their voice. What lay dormant is awakening, and you've opened the door. With every word read, you're weaving a connection. You must decide, do you wish to uncover the truth, or remain blissfully ignorant in shadows? Shivers raced down her spine. Wasn't that what she had wanted? To know, to transform? But a growing dread pushed against her heart. Suddenly, the air shifted. A low, throaty growl echoed from somewhere unseen, an ominous reminder that not all things manifested would bring warmth and light. Shadows surged forth, eager and hungry, drifting with a life of their own. Run! Her friend screamed, the urgency igniting a fire under her feet. But as Sarah turned, the concrete under her felt sticky, as if it had morphed into a quagmire. She glanced back, but the familiar visage had shifted, revealing only darkness, a silent scream frozen on their lips. The growl grew louder. It wasn't just her imagination anymore. There was something lurking, hunting. In that moment, every nerve ignited with urgency. The echo of lost dreams mixed with the chilling realization. She had awakened something beyond her comprehension. With a sudden burst of determination, she tore through the cobwebs of fear that bound her. But that push for freedom brought a new question. Could she escape the very shadows she had dragged into the light? As she ran, the darkness seemed to stretch, reaching out with cold, clammy fingers, determined to claim her as its own. Just as she thought she might break free, the world around her twisted, revealing a path lined with memories she thought long buried. Each turn pulled her deeper into the nightmare. It all came down to one choice: which path would lead her back to safety, and which one would seal her fate forever. The night closed in, and a chilling whisper echoed, choose wisely, for there's no turning back. The rush of adrenaline surged through Sarah's body as she stumbled through the darkness. Shadows flickered, cloaked with a malevolence that went beyond her previous nightmares. Every rustle, every faint whisper felt like tendrils, grasping at her, beckoning her to submit. Her breath came in ragged gasps, the very air thick and suffocating as if it were wrapped around her neck. Choose wisely echoed around her, a taunt she couldn't shake. She had to believe that there was a way out, yet every twist and turn only pulled her deeper into despair. Memories flared up like lightning strikes, reflecting happier times. Her childhood, carefree and bright, played like a movie behind her eyes, a stark contrast to this suffocating darkness. A snapping twig drew her back to the present. Panic set in as her heart raced even faster. She glanced behind, and the shadows appeared taller, more monstrous, as if the fear itself was fueling their growth. She sprinted again, urging her legs to move faster, but the ground seemed to ripple beneath her. Suddenly, she broke into a clearing, bathed in an eerie twilight glow. It felt impossibly surreal, lifted from that psalm's verses she had studied. The familiar words formed a web in her mind. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The thought alone twisted her stomach into knots as the truth dawned. She was standing at the edge of her own nightmare, the tangible manifestation of her fears. Heart pounding like a war drum, she found herself facing an expansive abyss. For a fleeting moment, the shadows recoiled, as if the light that emanated from her memories had a power of its own. Sarah, the voice reverberated from the depths of the void. It was her friend, or what remained of them. Desperate hope clawed at her chest again. Remember me. I can help you. No, you're not real, she shouted, shaking her head furiously. You were lost to this. You can't be here. Does it matter? The tone was both pained and pleading. You wanted answers, Sarah? You reached for the psalm, and now you must face the consequences. The growl returned, deeper, more menacing, shaking the very foundations of her resolve. She could see it now, a silhouette lurking just beyond the reaching edge, coiling within the darkness. The eyes' twin orbs of inky blackness glinted with predatory hunger. It was close, too close. Run, her friend shouted once again, this time urgency palpable in their voice. Agony twisted in her gut. She turned back toward the throbbing shadows, every instinct telling her to escape. Yet, as she sprinted, doubts gnawed at her heart. Could she outrun what she had summoned? Or was she simply running in a cyclical dance of despair? Rounding a bend, she caught a glimpse of something reflecting in the fading light. A mirror? No, a surface of crystal clarity that beckoned her forward. The air hummed as if imbued with raw energy, whispering promises of truth and redemption. But then she felt it, a cold breath, hot on her nape, something monstrous giving chase. Its growl rumbled through the air, closer now, a relentless predator drawing nearer. As she dashed toward the shimmer, a question clawed at her insides. Was the clarity her salvation or her doom? Another choice loomed ahead. Could she leap into the unknown, or would grasping for verity only plunge her deeper into the abyss? In that split second, as the darkness surged around her, Sarah's heart pounded louder than ever. Her next move would decide everything. Would she step into the unknown or face a fate already written? The shadows closed in, eager, ravenous. The shimmer pulsed like a beacon, drawing Sarah closer with a magnetic pull. As she sprinted toward it, the shadows darkened, wrapping around her legs like chains, slowing her down. The chill of desperation gnawed at her bones, and she could feel the breath of the beast at her back, warm and viscous against her skin. Jump! Her friend's voice echoed in her mind, blending with the growls that seemed to thrum in the depths of her soul. The abyss beckoned, and it felt both horrific and strangely exhilarating. It was a temptation that promised answers in exchange for her very spirit. With an explosive leap, she dove toward the shimmer. Time hung suspended in that fleeting moment. The two forces crashed together, the light and the darkness. The world spun and twisted around her, the breath of shadow becoming an agonizing scream as the barriers of reality dissolved. Sarah landed, gasping not just for air but for understanding. She found herself in a strange environment, one that felt more alive than any dream. The colors swirled vibrantly around her, flickering with a resonance that tugged at her core. The confusion of her immediate surroundings faded, and moments turned into vivid images, snapshots of her life, a birthday party, a family picnic, laughter echoing in the background. But there was a haunting silence here too, heavier than in the darkness before. Each fragment was a reminder, a warning. No one else existed in this place. Only her and those memories that felt like ghosts, tangled between the past and present. Face it, Sarah whispered, a familiar voice that clawed at her heart. You wanted to come here, didn't you? She spun around, eyes wide as she spotted a figure emerging from the luminosity, but it twisted and warped, almost as if it was trying to mold itself into something recognizable. No, she yelled, shaking her head. This isn't real. Not real? It echoed, the words sliding off the figure's lips like venom. You've embraced the shadows, and now you must confront your truth. The eerie presence loomed closer, a grotesque semblance of her friend, morphing with each flicker of the light around them. The eyes were pools of despair reflecting her own growing panic. You can no longer hide, Sarah. The psalm is more than verses. It is a testament to your journey. Only you hold the key. A shiver raced down her spine. The words pierced her heart, truth unveiled, bearing the weight of her buried fears. The shadows that had once felt so threatening now lingered at the edges of her awareness, almost curiously watching her confrontation unfold. What does it mean? She gasped, desperation flaring. What do I have to face? The figure momentarily morphed into everyone she had lost, faces expressing sorrow, disappointment, and regret. It was her torment, a reflection of the choices she had made, and it twisted deeper into her anguish. With the sudden realization, Sarah felt the tendrils of darkness pull at her throat, squeezing tighter. You cannot run from your truth. They shrieked, sounding like a choir, a haunting reminder. Gasping, she flashed back to the psalm, those lines she had recited over and over. They had been her safe harbor, but now they felt like shackles. But what if my truth is devastating? She questioned aloud. Then you embrace it. The twisted voice rang, commanding and sharp. The light flickered, shifting violently, and with that, A scintilla of hope sparked in her heart. Could this really be a path to her liberation? Swallowing hard, she took a step forward. The shadows loomed over her like a threat, but Sarah felt something stir within, a flicker of courage that maybe, just maybe, she could confront it all. Yet, even as she prepared to face her own darkness, a chilling realization struck her like lightning. What if everything she thought she knew was a mere illusion? What if the true danger lay buried deeper than she ever imagined? Sarah's whispering began to spiral again, and this time, it wasn't just the shadows. Shadows shifted, transforming, closing in. The confrontation had just begun, and the true essence of her ongoing nightmare lingered, lingering just beyond her grasp. With her heart pounding in her chest, Sarah knew one truth remained. The most dangerous truths might be the ones we are not ready to face. What lay buried within was waiting, and only time would reveal its true power. The shadows thickened, swarming and coiling like a living entity. Sarah's pulse raced as questions danced relentlessly in her mind. What was she supposed to embrace? What truth could shatter her so deeply? "You're not alone," the warped figure mocked, its voice dripping with false compassion. "Remember how every step you've taken led you here? Enough running, Sarah. The truth is the only escape." Suddenly, the memory fragments around her exploded into chaos. It was as if the fabric of her past unraveled, their laughter twisting into cries of despair, her cherished moments rewriting themselves into nightmares. The picnic blurred into a storm as raindrops morphed into tears, each droplet a testament to agony and regret. "Help me," she cried, desperate to reach for something solid in the wreckage of her memories. But the longing echoed back, swallowed by the void. Desperation clawed at her throat. "I can't face this," she screamed. The shadows grew thicker and whipped around her, wrapping tightly like suffocating vines. Fear surged through her body, igniting every nerve. But just as she felt the sting of hopelessness, that flicker of courage surged forth once more. "Embrace it," the shadowy figure urged, its elongated fingers stretching as though to weave her back into the chaos. "Acknowledge it. You cannot run. Everything you seek is within you." In that moment, the world exploded again. A cacophony of images pounded against her mind, faces she recognized, and some she didn't, all layered with sorrow. Strangers, childhood friends, her lost loved ones, each tracing paths she had ignored. The sorrow transformed into a choking chorus, the whispers clawing their way into coherence. "Do you hear them? They're waiting." Sarah staggered, her heart beat like a drum, creating echoes in the suffocating silence. The shadows hungered, pressing in closer, ready to consume her. Tears streamed down her cheeks, hot and heavy, as she felt the weight of 1,000 unspoken words crush her spirit. She braced herself, feeling a ripple of power surge from the depths of herself, echoing the strength of the psalm she had clung to all her life. "Even in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil," she whispered, the words trembling on her lips. As if summoned by her voice, soft rays of light pierced through the darkness. She took a cautious breath, wrapping herself in the certainty of those verses. The figure recoiled. "You think those words matter here? They've failed you, and you know it." The light flickered, offering a veil of protection, and for the first time, Sarah felt a flicker of control. "No," she declared, her voice strengthening. "I choose to face whatever darkness lingers. I want to understand." The shadows roared, a deafening sound that reverberated through her bones. The ground trembled as the spectral presence twisted in a fit of rage. "You're a fool," it snarled, and then the world around her distorted again. A storm formed, leaping toward her like a predator lunging for prey. But amid the turbulence, Sarah found herself standing still, trembling yet resolute. "I am not afraid," she breathed, a surge of warmth pooling at the base of her heart. Suddenly, the storm cracked, and a blinding light enveloped her, colliding with the shadows. A sacred pulse echoed through her veins. "Let it burn, let it purge." A voice sounded within her, awakening every sacred truth she had shunned. The shadows screamed, recoiled, and the world shook violently. But then her heartbeat slowed, realizing it wasn't pain she felt, but an inexplicable liberation. The storm raged, but now it was about to reveal secrets she had buried too deep. "No more illusions," she shouted, and the light erupted, illuminating the chaos, revealing the path just ahead. But what she didn't know was the storm had a name, one that could bind her forever or set her free. Sarah, a voice echoed, sharper and deeper, resonating from beyond the light. What lay beyond the tempest? What awaited her at the heart of the storm? The future felt ominous and yet full of promise. With adrenaline coursing through her, Sarah prepared to face whatever revelation could change everything. The abyss swirled behind her, waiting for her next move. The blinding light engulfed Sarah, washing over her like a cleansing tide. She felt the heat wrap around her, stable yet alive, as though it recognized her pain and yearned to soothe it. The shadows shrieked in agony, their twisted forms flailing as they were pushed back into the inky blackness. Everything felt electric. Do you want to know the truth? The voice again, stronger now, resonated like a bell in her chest. It startled her, yet she felt a flicker of curiosity igniting her resolve. There was something irresistible about it, compelling her to listen, to see what lay beneath the veil of chaos. Yes, she shouted, her voice echoing into the vastness. I want to know. The light swirled around her, illuminating the space just beyond her reach. It revealed fragments of her life. Faces floated by, some smiling, some faded, and others etched with sorrow. Each person bore a piece of her past. The joyous laughter of her youth was suddenly juxtaposed with the sheer weight of loss. Sarah's breath caught as she saw her mother's face, full of warmth and love, followed by the image of her lying still in a hospital bed, oxygen tubes forming an unbreakable bond between life and death. Sarah, you can free them. The voice echoed again, more insistent, like the beating of her heart. Free them? She questioned, confusion swirling in her mind. How? Embrace the truth, not just the light. The shadows are woven into you just as they are woven into your past, it said. Without understanding the darkness, you can't truly emerge into the light. The swirling shadows grumbled with a low growl, restless, angry that she was catching onto some deeper truth. Their movements mirrored her tumultuous emotions, urging her to retreat, to revert, to denial. No. Sarah lunged forward, the pulse of light guiding her steps. She found herself face to face with one of the shadow figures. Its eyes were voids, dark pools that threatened to swallow her whole. Who are you? I am the anguish you refuse to face, it whispered, its voice curling around her. I am your grievance, your guilt, your deepest fears. You can burn me away, but I will return. No. Her voice trembled, but she stood firm. You don't have control over me anymore. The shadows shrieked, retreating further, but she could sense their hunger, the immense sorrow that they wanted to feed on. The truth was nothing without acknowledgement. Suddenly, memories crashed against her like a tidal wave. Her father's shout when he discovered she had lied, the icy silence of friends turning their backs, the desperation of holding onto a past too painful to remember. She was suffocating beneath the weight of it, yet she squeezed her eyes shut. I have buried you all, but I want to hide from you, she proclaimed, pushing against the darkness, feeling raw energy surge through her body. The storm whirled around her, caught in a frenzy, as shadows lashed out in fury. Light danced through, forcing them back, yet Sarah felt herself teetering on the edge of control. Open your heart, Sarah? The voice urged again, more frantic now. Let go of the guilt. Embrace the pain, it's how they will be set free. You must first face what you hide from. A fierce clarity struck her in that moment. I will not be afraid anymore, she declared, feeling the light solidify, blending strength with vulnerability. The shadows writhed like wounded animals, their howls mingling with memories she'd long abandoned. That a flicker of something caught her eye, a glimmer in the chaos. A shimmering doorway emerged within the storm. She reached toward it, heart pounding louder, desperate and full of purpose. What would lie beyond? Walk through, and your answers await. The voice rounded, layered with promise. But at that instant, she hesitated. What answers could be worth the cost? The portal pulsed with intoxicating allure. It beckoned, yet doubt gnawed at her insides. Do I dare? She whispered. And that was when she knew what lay ahead could either bind her to the shadows or unleash the vibrant truths she dared to uncover. With trembling hands, she braced herself, ready to take the leap into the unknown. What awaited her on the other side? Would the truth liberate her or destroy everything she thought she knew? The portal shimmered, a silver ring against the chaos swirling around Sarah. A heavy tension hung in the air as memories clamored for her attention, all while the shadows raged. She could feel their icy tendrils brushing against her skin, their whispers clawing at her resolve. Step through. The voice pulsed urgently, echoing as if coming from every direction. Everything you seek is on the other side. Sarah's heart raced. The light felt warm, like a sunbeam, but the shadows were a chilling reminder of her failures, her fears. What would she face if she stepped through? Would it be redemption or ruin? For a heartbeat, doubt washed over her like a cold wave, pulling her back. What if I can't handle it? She murmured, her voice shaky. What if I get lost in the darkness forever? No one ever truly gets lost. The voice was firm, yet gentle. You must confront the truths you've avoided. Only then can you move forward. Her breath caught, the air thick with anticipation. Looking into the portal, she saw not just a doorway but the looming promise of freedom. The courage she had summoned was shaky, but it flickered with potential. Drawing a deep breath, Sarah stepped closer to the threshold. Just as she dipped her hand toward the shimmering surface, a terrible noise erupted, a thunderous roar. The shadows convulsed violently, spiraling into a vortex on either side, desperate to reclaim their hold. No, she yelled, uncertainty morphing into defiance. She plunged her hand through the portal, feeling a jolt of energy surge through her, electrifying her very being. The moment she entered, her surroundings shifted. The chaos faded to a soft glow, and she found herself in a breathtaking meadow bathed in golden sunlight. The air was rich with the scent of blooming flowers, and gentle laughter echoed in the distance. Joy enfolded her like a warm blanket. But just as quickly, the serenity shattered. A sharp cry pierced the air. It was anguished, filled with betrayal. Sarah turned, heart racing, to see a figure standing at the edge of the meadow. It was a familiar face twisted in pain, the ghost of her past, her younger self. Why did you abandon me? The girl screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. You left me alone with all of this. A knot tightened in Sarah's chest. No, I tried to forget, but I was trying to protect us. She took a hesitant step forward, but the meadow shifted, the sky darkening as shadows clawed at the edges. Protect us? The girl scoffed, angering the gentle landscape. You call this freedom? You're still running from the truth. Face it, Sarah. A shudder swept through her. The joy of the meadow faded, revealing a battleground within her heart. The shadows swelled at the borders, hungry and eager for her fear. She inhaled, the scent of flowers tainted by smoke and memories of her despair. No, I want to let you win. Sarah shouted, resolute. She faced her younger self with newfound determination. I am not afraid anymore. I am here to set you free. The shadow figures swarmed, their voices adding to the chaos. You believe you can escape us? We are a part of you. They hissed, their twisted forms reaching out like claws. But Sarah stood firm, feeling that electric warmth from the light surge within her again, growing stronger. Listen to me, she commanded, her voice powerful like thunder. You will not control me. I accept everything. I am the light and the shadows alike. The girl hesitated, her face softening as the shadows recoiled, uncertain in the face of Sarah's growing acceptance. Together then, the girl whispered, her tone shifting from despair to tentative hope. For the first time, Sarah noticed a glimmer in the shadows, a flicker of light woven within. Was it possible they could coexist? As resolve coursed through her, Sarah reached towards the shadows, her heart pounding. The figures stilled, watching her with wary eyes. Join me, and together we will rise, she called out. But just as she dared to embrace them, she felt a sharp tremor beneath her feet, an earthquake of emotions stirring chaos once more. And somewhere, from the depths of the shadows, a growl reverberated, a warning, a challenge. What if they fight back? A voice echoed from the distance, dark and sinister. With the ground cracking, fissures emerging like scars across the landscape, reality twisted around her. Could she truly face what awaited? In a world torn by shadows, the ultimate battle for her soul loomed. The moment to confront everything was imminent. Would she succeed, or would the shadows reclaim her? The ground quaked beneath Sarah's feet, sending shockwaves of dread through her body. The shadows writhed around her, a living mass of hatred and despair, and she felt their icy breath inching closer, seeking her vulnerabilities. That guttural growl echoed again, more threatening this time, a low rumble that reverberated through the very marrow of her bones. "Stay strong," she shouted, though her voice trembled with uncertainty. Fear clutched at her, tightening around her heart like a vice. What if she was wrong? What if the acceptance she sought only unleashed more chaos? The shadows twisted eagerly, their ghastly forms blending into one another, growing larger, merging together as they advanced. The familiar features of her younger self flickered in and out, caught in the web of despair. "Stop!" the girl screamed, hands raised in desperation. "Don't give in to them." But was she right? Could Sarah truly reconcile with the darkness within her? She looked deeper into the abyss, hoping for signs of the shimmer she had glimpsed, the flicker of light. Her resolve faltered as the shadows pulsed, beckoning her to abandon her quest for acceptance. "Join us, Sarah," they hissed in a chorus, voices twisting together, taunting. It would be so easy in that moment. A rush of warmth filled her, ferocious and unwavering, the electric pulse battling the cold dread. "No," she yelled, her voice fierce and unyielding. "You don't own me. I refuse to hide from what I've been through." With those words, something shifted. The shadows momentarily stiffened, their dark forms wavering. The ground beneath her shuddered yet again, this time as if acknowledging her strength, but she could feel their hunger, their desire to consume her with every breath. There's no way forward without the truth, her younger self cried, eyes pleading. "Face it, Sarah. You have to confront your pain." Sarah's chest tightened, memories flooding back, each a piercing reminder of her broken past. The doubts, the failures, the moments of shame. They rushed forward like a tidal wave. But something else rose with them. Hard-won lessons, flickers of hope, moments of love and laughter she thought were buried beneath her sorrow. Together, she whispered, forming the words gingerly as if they held the key to salvation. "We can be whole. We don't have to fight the shadows, we can embrace them." A stunned silence fell over the shadows, and in that quiet moment, Sarah saw it, the glimmering thread of light weaving through the darkness, illuminating secrets she had buried for too long. She reached out instinctively, her hand brushing against the cold tendrils of dark. The shadows recoiled as if burned, a soft, painful wail escaping them. "Fool! It's in embracing despair you'll find power," they taunted, starting to pull back, unsure of themselves. She felt an intoxicating surge of adrenaline, a flood of life coursing through her. "I'm done running," she declared, her heart pounding in sync with the pulse of the meadow. "You're a part of me, but you don't control me." As the shadows shrieked in anger, a more profound truth ignited within her. With newfound strength, she charged forward, summoning all her sorrow, joy, and defiance. "Come with me," she cried, a tempest of resolve in her voice. "Together, we will rise." And then, like lightning splitting the sky, a singular beam of light erupted from her core, spiraling into the shadows. Reality trembled, fragments of her life dancing across the space around her like stars bursting into existence. The ground twisted, and she felt herself lift off the earth, enveloped in a swirl of colors. But just as quickly, the overwhelming power threatened to shatter her. Laughter filled the air, a manic sound rising above her cries. It was mocking, taunting, and in that laughter, Sarah recognized another voice, deeper and more menacing. "Do you think you can defeat me, Sarah? Shadows are born from your insecurities." With dread pooling in her stomach, Sarah forced herself to remain focused. The battle was far from over. Would embracing her pain be enough to silence the growing darkness? As the light threatened to consume her, she braced herself. The battlefield shifted again, revealing an endless expanse of swirling shadows and blinding light. In that swirling chaos, she saw faces, her friends, her family, all looking towards her with urgent curiosity and concern. Time slowed as she realized they were waiting for her to decide. Will you fight back, or will you surrender to the shadows? She whispered to herself, struggling to grasp hold of her destiny even as her mind swirled with doubt. And then, from the abyss, another growl emerged, a haunting echo that made her heart race. The shadows were not done, not by a long shot. "Prepare yourself, Sarah. The real battle is just beginning." Sarah's heart thundered in her chest as the shadows coiled closer, their chilling whispers wrapping around her like a thick fog. Fear and uncertainty threatened to drag her down, but she clenched her fists, her breath coming in quick bursts. No, I won't give in. The ground beneath her shifted violently, as if it were alive and reacting to her defiance. The faces of her loved ones shimmered in and out of sight, urgency etched in their features. She could feel their hopes resting on her shoulders, almost palpable. She drew strength from their collective energy, grounding herself in the moment, in reality. "Focus, Sarah," she murmured, her voice barely audible above the cacophony of shadows. "I will face the truth. No more running." With each word, she felt the tension of her past clutching her, trying to pull her backward into despair. Remembering every hurt, every failure made her stomach churn. Yet also, she recalled shattered pieces of joy, a laugh shared, a hug, a moment when she felt whole. "Together we can overcome," she repeated like a mantra, channeling her memories. "I'm not alone." A tide of determination swelled inside her. She lifted her arms toward the swirling darkness, summoning the glimmering light that flickered like a beacon within her. The shadows wailed in response, anguished and furious. The growls morphed into threatening roars, but Sarah held her ground, her feet dug firmly into the ground. "Show yourself," she cried. "I'm ready." Suddenly, the shadows twisted violently, contorting until a figure emerged, a dark silhouette, indistinct but clearly the source of all malice. Its eyes glowed with rage, burning nearly as bright as the light emanating from Sarah. "You dare challenge me?" it growled, voice a shattering echo that pierced her resolve. "Yes," she replied, her voice gaining strength. "Fear cannot have me. I won't let it." With that proclamation, Sarah thrust the light from within her outward, the beam expanding to pierce the gloom. The shadows hissed, recoiling as the light wrapped around them, seeming to burn through the darkness in tendrils of pure energy. However, the creature wasn't defeated yet. With a furious snarl, it lashed out, dark tendrils reaching toward her, clawing at her sanity. "You think you can shine a light on my darkness? I am the embodiment of your fears." In that moment, doubt twisted in Sarah's mind like a dagger. Would her light be enough? But she forced herself to remember the faces of those watching, the belief they had placed in her. "Your darkness is not stronger than my hope," she shouted, refusing to let fear infect her voice. "You are born from my past, but I am reborn through my courage. With every wound, I rise." As those words left her lips, the space around her burst into a flood of brilliant light. Color exploded, and she felt it, a warmth consuming the shadows like flames licking at dry wood. The dark figure shrieked, a sound of pure hatred and pain, but Sarah pressed forward, pouring every ounce of emotion into the light. The shadows writhed and began to dissolve, their forms losing definition, and for a moment, she thought she saw faces in the darkness, trapped and begging for release. It struck her, hard, a realization of the countless others bound in similar battles, their own shadows clouding their lives. "Maybe you're not my enemy," she whispered, vulnerability coating her voice. "Maybe you just need to heal." With an unexpected swell of compassion, Sarah focused on channeling the light not just as a weapon, but as a salve. It cascaded around her, washing over the shadows with each pulse of her heart. But as one wave of darkness receded, she sensed the chilling presence of another. More shadows stirred at the edges, hungrily erupting anew, a counterforce threatening to flood back in. "What have you done?" the dark figure hissed, its form flickering, unsure whether to retreat or fight. "You've only delayed the inevitable." Chaos surged once more, and as the shrieks of shadows echoed around her, it dawned on Sarah. This battle was far from over. "Hold on," she thought, her resolve renewing even as dread coiled in her gut. "I want to let them take me again." And just as she summoned her inner strength, a blinding light erupted from her, illuminating the darkness further. But a new, more oppressive force began to rise, malevolent and coming for her with dread purpose. "Rise, Shadowkeeper. We've only just begun." As the cacophony of shadows reverberated through the air, swirling into a chaos intent on consuming Sarah, a flood of determination surged through her veins. She clutched her chest as memories poured forth, raw and unfiltered. Old pains, regrets, and moments of joy spilled into her consciousness. Each one resonated like a drumbeat, amplifying her resolve. "Enough," she shouted, her voice slicing through the torment. "I acknowledge you. I acknowledge all of you." The swirling shadows paused, as though caught off guard. Their twisted forms morphed in confusion. It was a fragile moment, but Sarah seized it. "You might have haunted me, but you don't define my journey anymore." With that, she reached deep within, drawing from a wellspring of light, a fire ignited by her choices, her lessons learned in the valley of her pain. The light pulsed around her, cascading in brilliant colors that matched her heartbeat. "Together, we rise," she screamed, and with every ounce of strength, she unleashed the energy pouring from her. The light exploded outward, expanding like the dawn breaking after a long night. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the brilliance as if it were a weapon forged from the core of her truth. "Stand with me," she roared, illuminating the gathering darkness. "You are not my enemy." The shadows twisted again, but now there was a flicker of hesitation within them. Flickering images of sorrow and loss peeked out, faces she recognized appearing briefly before they were consumed by darkness. "Why do you hide?" she pressed, meeting the vacant eyes with unwavering honesty. "Is it fear? Regret? You were once a part of me, and together we can find healing. But we must first face the truth." As she spoke, the shadows shifted, their edges softening. There was a moment of stillness, a gentle hush in the midst of the storm. Gradually, the chaotic roars began to change, warping into something softer, a murmur of anguish that threaded through the air. Sarah came the soft echo of her younger self. "Are you sure? Can we really heal?" The questions hung thick in the air, expanding as they filled the space. "Yes," Sarah cried out, her voice unwavering. "You deserve to be whole, as do I." We've spent too long apart in silence and sorrow. With newfound conviction, Sarah pushed forward, the rays of light transforming like a protective barrier around her, illuminating not just the space but all that had ever hurt, all that had bound her. The shadows glanced at one another, and for a fleeting instant, uncertainty flickered amongst them. "Let me show you," she whispered, stepping closer, the warmth radiating from her a stark contrast to the chilling shadows. Suddenly, the rolling darkness began to shift, not retracting in fear, but curiously reaching out, each flicker of light igniting understanding and empathy. Sarah, the combined voices murmured, hovering softly. "Could we truly find peace? Can we confront our truth together?" She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes, a mix of triumph and grief. "Yes, let us face it all. Let us embrace our pain and our joy, for they are part of our story." In a profound and transformative moment, the shadows began to blend with her light. Merging into a swirling dance of color, darkness would no longer exist as adversary, but as a gentle reminder of all she had conquered. As they merged, a rush of memories flooded their collective consciousness, the cherished laughter of moments shared, the warmth of hugs, and the bittersweet pang of loss. The landscape morphed, blooming into a vibrant tapestry of existence that enveloped them, rich and textured with the echoes of life. The shadows no longer roared in anger. Instead, they hummed with a new resonance, a symphony of acceptance, a quiet reassurance threading through their being. They pulsed in rhythm with Sarah's heartbeat, becoming a part of her rather than apart from her. "I am whole," she whispered, the words tasting like freedom on her tongue. With every beat, the darkness transformed, glistening like stars against the night sky. They glimmered with possibility, and in that transformation, there came a deep understanding. She had not merely fought the shadows. She had embraced them, in the faded remnants of her earlier chaos. Sarah turned her gaze back toward the horizon of her past, and with deep breath, she finally felt ready to step into the future, courage looming large in her heart. "Now I can truly heal," she exhaled, a lightness replacing the suffocation of her fears. "Together, we will rise." The light enveloped her fully, illuminating every shadow and breathing life into every loss, reminding her that both light and darkness have their place in her journey forward. The time for running had ended. She would forge ahead, whole and unbroken. And with that promise, she stepped confidently into her new dawn. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Hear me out. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. It's never been more crucial. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Sarah's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these vital actions.